37.
37. It's so hard to resist. I can't resist.
Go ahead.
You're still here.
You're still here. I don't even know why it's funny.
I don't know because I cannot not say it at this point. We have recorded so many of these where we start with this. Now I'm like,
It's our intro.
I guess. I was trying to, like, okay, is he gonna say it? Am I gonna say
I was waiting for you to say it because I was like, I'm gonna pretend like I forgot, but I'm gonna just wait for you to say it.
it? I see. Make me the one to say it.
It's your fault.
No, I feel it. Like it just comes out.
It's compulsion.
Maybe we should rename the podcast to Still Here.
Still here. That's not a bad podcast name.
Yeah. No, I mean I like our name, but Still Here's
Unfiltered. Still here.
might be better. Yeah.
So we have a topic today.
Mm-hmm.
We came prepared. Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Prepared means we have like
we have a title,
topic points, and an outline or something.
We have a title. There we go. Love and fear.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think the opposite of love is hate, but I guess I don't think that's true. I don't think you think that's true either.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I think for all intents and purposes, whenever you think of love, you almost like think, oh, well, if I love someone, then the other half is I don't love them, right? Or like if I love something, then the other opposite is I don't love that something, right?
Right.
Which is like almost intuitively
not just apathy, but like if you were to draw that spectrum from love over here down through indifference in the middle, the other end seems like hate
or not like
or dislike.
I dislike again.
Yeah.
Or unlove. I don't know if that's the word.
Right. Which I mean, in a sense, maybe, but not in the greater sense. I don't think.
Yeah. So yeah, in this case, the topic is like love, not like whether or not you love pineapples or not.
I love pineapples.
Even the shards.
I like pineapples. I don't know if I'd go. I love pineapples. I like pineapples. The shards, how they like cut your mouth.
Yeah, they're actually little knives.
Yeah, it's weird.
That like cuts your mouth.
Yeah, I mean I can tell.
Yeah, but I mean scientifically, that's what it is.
I still think it's worth it.
If you zoom in on the pineapple, it's like these tiny little knives that like cut up your palate.
Yeah.
I love it. The gallop.
Cat extravaganzas. So, I think at the higher level, the opposite of love is actually fear, which is something that I'd heard before, and then we heard again as we were watching Bruce Lipton's show on Gaia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Am I supposed to say something?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a back and forth podcast.
I would kick you, although I'm afraid you're going to spill your cacao and have the cat damaged. Her 18-year-old cat will be damaged by my kicking.
I can't even say that because when I'm editing it, it's clear that you do like 80% of the speaking.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Do you enjoy that or not?
It flows. It flows fine. Maybe 60%. Sometimes it's closer to half and half, but usually you do more.
Well, I get so bad. Like the second I start talking, I get so passionate, and like everything just overflows, and so it's almost like impossible for me not to speak. Yeah, I will say this. I'll maybe start with this. I have been struggling probably all of my life with love to some extent, and everything that I'm working on personally right now comes back to, like in this morning, we were just talking about my dream last night, comes back to having your heart open to allow love in, right? And I'm not talking about like superficial love for pineapples, or I'm not even talking about like romantic love, but that is included. I'm talking about all love,
Mhm.
right? And I think the picture that I want to paint is existence, human existence as a whole is actually love. Our our innate exploration of this life, or of each incarnation, of each interpretation of what it means to be us as a human being, is exploration into love. And that, I think that is why it registers so deeply with everyone. And that is the most talked topic, right? Or most lacked in thing, is because we feel like at some point it's either we have love, or let's be honest, most of the time we don't. And then there's a multitude of expansive topics of all the ways we don't feel like we have love. Either we're not lovable, either somebody doesn't love us the right way, either I don't have a loving partner to love me, right? And so we design these scenarios of life that revolve around love. I think I would venture to say everything in life actually revolves around love.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably true.
Eh, Love of self, love of one another, love of a partner, love of an acquaintance, love of a passerby, love of a tree, love of a cat,
Right,
love
love
of
it.
a chair,
Activity.
activity. Everything we do, the only reason we came into this being is to
Yeah.
experience all the expanses of love, all the expanses of love, even outside the romantic sense, but romantic included.
Yeah. I mean, love pulls us in, right? We love something, someone, you know.
It expands us.
Yeah, but it yes, it expands us, but it draws us to this, to the saying object of your desire makes it sound weird, but oh, I love playing tennis, so I play tennis. I don't like playing tennis, but I love cats, so we have cats. You know,
Because it expands us into our higher self.
yeah, it makes room for those things to find their way into your life.
But as they find room into your life, and then you start diving into what it means to love cats, right? Or what it means to have a loving partner, or what it means to have a loving friend. That expansive feeling, like if you're taking every single version of love that exists out there, and you simply narrow down to one thing, it is expansion of your heart center. And then, in fact, your entire system, like your entire energetic system, all of your chakras come together into one calcified being, right? And then from that calcification, you basically explode on out as energy. Love is the catalyst for that. Like if we had to take what physical actions in this realm of existence cause us to expand out and feel the highest high, not like a drug high, but the highest high of our personal being, like for us to reach the highest connection with our higher self,
Mhm.
for us to reach that euphoric feeling of, I would classify it as divine being, but for some people, just saying euphoric feeling is enough, right? Love is the action that drives us there, right?
Yeah,
So our entire existence, like our entire reincarnation, each version of us is from the perspective of like divine purpose, maybe, is to experience all aspects, all facets, all fractalized versions of love. And we feel the most closed off when we do not feel like we're experiencing love. Like when our perception tells us that we are unlovable, or we don't have a loving partner, or I don't have anyone to love, or no one loves me, or I don't, there's nothing in this life that I love. Like I don't have
yeah,
a hobby that expands my heart.
right,
I don't have a cat that makes me, tear up and fill up with joy.
right. Now, all of those things are external things you just mentioned.
Yeah, because we take the love. that is the essence of us, and we seek it, and then therefore externally try to identify it being there or it not being there.
Yeah.
We
We
externally extrapolate whether or not we have love or not.
based on whatever our life circumstances happen to be at that time.
Yes. Right.
Oh, I'm in a happy relationship, therefore I'm loved. Oh, you know, it ended whether, you grew apart or some tragedy happened and someone died, oh, now I don't have love.
Mhm.
Right.
Right, or, like, sometimes when you're in a funk and you, like, just don't wanna do things, right? Like, the hobbies no longer resonate, like,
Right.
you know, your enthusiasm for skydiving is no longer a thing. You're like, "Oh, I used to love skydiving, but now it's not a thing, and I don't there's nothing that I love."
Right.
And the difference between the feeling of, like, "Oh my god," think of how excited you are to go do whatever your favorite thing to do is, whatever your hobby is,
Right.
and think about the energy of that and what like, right now, if you're listening to this, take a pause and think, like, what is the most favorite thing that you do in your life that you're just like, "Wow, I just wanna do it." Like, I wish I'm doing it right now. And if you are doing it right now listening, just think about how expansive that is. And then think about the time where that thing or some other thing that you used to love is taken away from you. And then feel what happens to your body then. Like, it literally, like, shrivels down and closes in. Like,
Hmm.
I feel my heart center, like, literally shrivel in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your entire system just, like, shrivels in.
I mean, because we humans were meant to, destined to
Expand.
expand, and there are certain activities, people, whatever that resonate with us, and we interpret that as I love it, and we're destined to do those things.
Yeah.
Not saying not being able to implies that you know you're the victim of the circumstance, and to some degree maybe
No, but expansion holds all form, not even
yeah,
external out form.
yeah,
Like, to us, traveling is something that we do that expands me, like,
right,
that the right? But if somebody is in the circumstances where the budget does not allow traveling, that is not the one and only thing, right?
yeah. There are
Like, I mean,
I
heck,
think
me
everybody
sitting there
has,
patting a cat is an expansive thing for me.
yeah,
Me cleaning a house, I know it sounds weird, but it is expansive thing for me. Clean a house for the right reason, right? Or me organizing is expansive for the right reason, right? Me sewing sometimes is expansive, right?
right.
If I'm sewing, I'm
What's
expanding.
interesting is that sometimes the same activity on a different day, it's like, yeah, today's just not the day for that. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know what's up with that,
Yeah, when you and I do the podcast,
right?
to me, that is
This is
expansive.
expensive, but at the same time, there's some days it's like, yeah, today's just not the day for
Yeah,
it.
but those are the days ideally we're not recording.
I don't think we've ever recorded when I didn't want to record,
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. There's
but
plenty
there
of
have been,
days I'm like, ooh.
yeah, but there have been days when it's like, yeah, I mean, neither of us even suggested because it's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not today.
Yeah. So by default, when we're in the space that feeds our soul and we're lined in with that space of the soul feeding, and then we're participating in that action, then it's kind of like the perfect formula between um being being in the right space yourself and then knowing that this is a nourishing activity, excuse me, that will expand you further. Uh and then participating in that activity and then feeling that expansion even further. So it kind of amplifies itself as you work your way through. Right.
Yeah,
So that's that half.
right. Now, before I go to fear, hatred is, on one hand, it's obviously not the same thing as love, but at the same time, it's not that your heart necessarily closes with hatred. I don't think in the same way that it does with fear. Fear is a heart closing thing, but with hatred, there's a often like a a passion that will arise in you. Oh my gosh, you get so riled up and worked up about the Nazis as an easy one to pick on, right? Oh my gosh, they just drive me crazy, and you just you it, it's the same it can be the same level of passion that it would be, oh my gosh, I just love flowers. Oh my gosh, I just hate Nazis. So it gets you going in that same way. Obviously, it's not good,
Mhm.
right?
But maybe it has as much of an energetic charge or can have a
Right.
potential of a very large
As
energetic
a
charge.
yeah, but contrast that with fear, where it's like, oh my gosh, you literally want to run away from it.
Yeah.
That's in the show yesterday. Bruce Lipton was talking about how if you just take a culture of bacteria or whatever in a petri dish, you got two of them, right? And on the first one, you put over to the side uh, food or whatever the bacteria eat, right? Here's the, when you have an inch away, you put some good stuff. And on the second petri dish, over a half an inch away, you put like a toxin or a poison, something that they don't want. The bacteria will literally move their way over to the good stuff, and on the other dish, literally move themselves away from the bad stuff.
Mhm.
And that's
Like he
the
talks about environmental signaling like that.
yeah,
You're right. That's how we react. Like that is literally how our system reacts because
yeah,
that is us, right? But that's environmental
yeah.
response.
But I draw the analogy there of that's love drawing us to something,
Mhm.
and that's fear. We're running away from it. And he goes on to say that, like, at least at a cellular level, and I think at a human soul level, you cannot be both running away from something and running to something at the same time. They're like opposite systems. The running away literally closes you off in a way that you can't accept the good stuff if you're running from the bad stuff.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so fear, it causes us to run away and causes us to close down in a way that does not leave room for love.
Yeah.
It's
Even like a love in a different subject.
right. It's like if you're running away from a tiger, you don't have time to love
Flower.
a flower. Um, yeah, I think that's a really interesting, I say analogy, but I don't even think it's an analogy. It just happens to work at the smallest level of your cell and all the way up to your body and then all the way up to your soul.
No, but like micro, macro being the same as above, so below type of a
Mm,
thing. I mean that's just it. Is
yeah,
that our cellular system responds. I mean, the cellular system is just a reflection of our psyche, or our psyche is a reflection of it's one and the same. It's kind of like a um like almost like the Russian nesting dolls, right?
hmm,
That is all part of one cohesive being, and they
yeah,
all are the same shape, and they all do the same thing. It's just what's the size of that one?
right. And it works at all the levels in between, right? Oh yeah, there's the cells, but these cells come together and form a liver or
Yeah.
an eyeball or whatever, and it
Yeah.
works there too. Oh, and then it works at well, I've got my whole arm is a whole mass of cells, yeah, but then there's bones and there's muscles and there's nerves and all that, and it works at that level, and then it works at the whole body level,
Mhm. Yeah, but then it works on your energetic
right?
level, like your the unseen physical space that is actually your expansion,
Yeah,
and then your higher self.
yeah, and going beyond that, it works at like a community level too, right? You can
Yeah.
imagine a whole community after some sort of tragic event, the George Floyd or the Breonna Taylor thing, the whole community is filled with
Fear.
fear. Yes, anger too, but fear,
Yeah.
and that closes people off. It does not leave a lot of room for love. It's when we went to the protest for the war in Ukraine.
I've
It was
seen
it
it.
was a protest. I was going to say demonstration, but it was a
Yeah.
protest. Um,
It's
yeah,
supposed to be a
it
gathering.
was supposed to be a gathering, and it was peaceful in that there was no violence, right? But it was not
Yeah.
a. It was an angry, fear-based thing, and there
Not
was
for us.
not for us.
There were
No,
like
not for
handful
us.
of people.
For
Handful of people.
yeah. I mean the
Most of the
person
people were not angry
the
or
person
hateful.
leading it
The person leading
was
it,
was
yeah.
very very angry.
But her energy was not the energy of everybody else there. She was like by far a margin.
I mean, maybe. Guess I don't know. I just saw,
I mean,
she
just
she
think
was
about it,
trying to push it in this,
when we were just standing there talking, and
oh
even when
yeah.
she spoke, she was. I mean, you can tell that.
I mean, she had a she had a big charge on it, obviously. And I feel passionately about the
Yeah,
issue too,
yeah.
but I guess I was also, and I think you were also very cautious not to get swept into the,
Oh no, but we were not in that space at all.
yeah, into the
Yeah,
the funk of, an angry protest against something.
yeah. But
But and
remember,
specifically
in a
leaving
previous
room for it.
podcast, I mentioned that she was also the protesting there for George Floyd. No, I'm sorry, Breonna Taylor in Louisville was Breonna Taylor. Remember?
Okay. I don't remember, but okay.
Yeah, because her boyfriend, who's African American here in Louisville, in Louisville had a huge Breonna Taylor. I will say that some people look at it as like a racially charged event, but no, it's just inhumane event,
Yeah.
and it happened to be of a different race. But regardless of the race, it was inhumane. And the point I guess they were making it is, would this have happened to a white person, right?
Yeah.
And that was, yeah, and I think probably not.
Probably not.
So yeah, so it is racial, but it's just besides the fact that these cops are racist. Besides the race, it's just inhumane.
Yeah.
Like that is not how we treat human beings.
Yeah. Yeah.
But corruption, drugs, all the way up to the mayor. So nobody's admitting that. Here I am getting into charged situations, but it feels right.
Yeah.
When you're in that space of like, oh my gosh, look at the injustice that I see in front of me.
Yeah. It's hard
It
not to get
it is
riled up.
difficult.
I
Yeah,
mean, hatred and anger is easy, but that leads
fear.
into fear.
Yeah,
That's where I was going, was that we were I was trying to be incredibly careful not to go into some sort of angry, fear-based, if there's a mob of angry people, anger just covers up fear, right? I mean,
yeah.
anger is the way that we express fear that makes us feel most in control of it.
But hatred is also just a cover up of
Right.
fear.
And yeah, and hatred and anger, basically brothers.
Yeah, right. I will say this. I know this is not the topic, and I don't know how this fits in, but I do get a lot of passion when I see injustice.
I do too.
Right? Like I have an influx to stop injustice.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
do
mean,
too.
angry, no, hatred driven, no, just love driven.
Right.
Right, and so you can want
K-
change from the point of love.
Right. It's love and compassion for the, I guess, victim
Well, no,
of this
for
injustice.
humanity, for humanity. How are we treating other humans around us? Where is love? Right?
Hmm.
If there was love on the cops who busted in and shot her, like that doesn't even make sense. Like how
Right.
would how would that act come out of love? Right? Now, there's a lot of things, there's another extension here is m- my my true feeling is, and it's becoming more and more apparent, we can only be in two states. You can either be in state of love or we can all be in a state of fear. And they're like almost mutually exclusive.
I think they are mutual. I don't think it's possible to be in both at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. So
Do you think there's something in the middle, some sort of apathy in the middle?
I don't right now it doesn't feel like I can feel that. Like it feels like
It's love or it's not love, but not love equals fear.
it it almost feels that way. Now, I know it's difficult to say because at the same time I can see a lot of instances where I function not in the space of that love, not coming from that pure vibration of love, right? And then therefore, if my observation is if they're mutually exclusive, then by default I will have to say, oh yes, therefore I'm in fear, right? If I had to draw that analogy onto myself,
Right.
then it would be difficult for me to like step back and identify, wait, then if I am in fear, what am I fearing of right now?
Right.
Like that's difficult.
And fear is sneaky.
Yeah, fear is
Oh
extremely
yeah,
sneaky.
if there's some tiger running after you, yeah, fear is obvious, right?
Yeah.
Fear for your bodily harm or whatnot. But there's a lot of sneaky fear.
Yeah.
Fear of,
Well, we have spent time like deprogramming ourselves of how to recognize fear.
yeah. Like
Like, right?
there's
Because think about it, the whole point of fear is your body goes into the survival mode or you're running, right? Or fighting. And so cognitive processing to go, wait, how do I feel right now is not part of fear.
yeah.
Like fear does not leave time for me to sit there and go, should I run? Should I not run? Is that tiger close?
Yeah.
Should I get up? Or wait, maybe he will change his mind.
Yeah.
That is
And
not part of how fear
and that's
responds.
all fine and good for
A cognitive,
caveman,
well, no,
but
our
here
cognitive,
today,
yeah, but we still function that same
yeah.
way. A cognitive mind shuts off because processing is not going to happen when we're afraid. There's no thought. We're not thinking of or analyzing a situation because the gut response is run or fight.
Thing I learned from that show yesterday was that literally your hippocampus tells your not the pineal gland, the other one,
Um, Pituitary.
pituitary gland, I
Yeah,
think.
which is in the hypothalamus. Is it? That's not hypothalamus. Whatever that center is, where a pineal gland is also at. I think.
Yeah,
If I'm not mistaken, pituitary gland is in the same place as pineal gland.
they're right
And
next to each other. I
yeah,
think.
it's in that little round thing right somewhere. Right. If you take those two triangles in, it's right there.
So it tells the gland, "Hey, time to get afraid." That goes and squirts out some sort of hormone.
Serotonin or not? Oh wait, no.
No,
Serotonin is
which then goes to which then tells your adrenal glands down here somewhere, "Hey, we got it. Bad stuff's about to happen. We gotta move. We gotta fight or we gotta run."
yeah.
And that squirts out adrenaline, cortisol, whatnot, which literally constricts the blood vessels in here where all of your important organs are. Right? You can live without an arm or a leg. In here, you need all that stuff, and it constricts those to increase blood flow to your arms and legs so that you can literally run and fight.
Yeah.
Which is great if you're escaping a tiger.
Yeah. Not many
But
tigers in Kentucky.
not great when that's happening because of a conversation you have to have with Bill and HR.
But that's the same response.
But it's the same response. We have not evolved into a more modern response. We're stuck with this caveman level response, which doesn't suit A, modern life, or B, any sort of, personal growth or development.
Yeah. But quite literally, Bruce's point is he said 90% of doctor visits come from stress.
Right. This is stress. This fear, that stress, that's like the same thing.
Yeah. Right. So if we're in any type of fear mode, like even if for something stupid, right? That like logically, if you think about it, you would go, wait, should I even be afraid of this right now? Like, is this something that is you're afraid of something into the future?
No, yeah,
or you're afraid of something,
anxiety is just fear of the fear projected into the future.
yeah. So if
or regret is just fear in the past.
yeah. So if any point you are fearing or anxious or stressed out
or nervous
about anything, that means your entire organ system, your entire torso is locked up, right?
Not getting good blood flow.
There's no flow, and the only thing it is doing, it is pumping blood into our arms and legs.
Right.
Because guess what? Because the system thinks this is a survival thing. Like we need to
This is a literal
moving.
life or death tiger situation.
Yeah.
And two things. So yeah, keeping healthy blood flow in your guts, that is what promotes growth and health in general. And B, being in that state suppresses your immune system too, because what's the point of fighting off a bacteria infection if a tiger's chasing you? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All that's completely secondary to I have to run, I have to fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're in this. So many people are 24/7 in in this state of fear, of
Of some sort of fear.
some sort of fear or
But
anxiety or
yeah,
nervousness
stress.
or stress.
Which yeah, but that means our system at all times in that state is completely shut off, right?
Yeah.
Our immune system response is not working. Our gut is not working. But let's be honest, our heart is closed off because
Yeah.
literally quite clearly,
Literally and figuratively.
yeah, like because literally, right? If this whole thing is constricted, guess what's happening? Your heart is constricted too, because it's trying to pump as much blood to your arms and legs as possible.
One of the big examples of this was students who know they have a big test coming up. They get nervous, and then that tends to promote a lot of students tend to be sick right before, right after, during
Exams.
big exams.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, out of the blue, our son has an AP test
And his
today.
friends. And his friends.
Yeah, a lot of his friends have a big test today. It's an important test, right? But last Thursday, him and a whole bunch of his friends were all feeling really bad. He had an actual fever from it.
Yeah.
No one else got it. I didn't get it. You didn't get it. Annabelle didn't get it. But to the point where he had a fever.
Yeah.
And slept half a day.
Yeah.
And what it does is being in that locked up state where you're suppressing your immune system lets all the diseases that you have in your body anyway, right? Go, oh, hey, nothing's fighting me now. I can go party time for the.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing that I didn't realize. So Bruce, and he's an epigeneticist, so he knows what he's talking about. But he said all of the pathogens, all of the sicknesses, all of the viruses are at all times in our system.
Yeah, or at least a lot of them.
Yeah. So if we are walking around trying not to catch a flu or not to catch a cold, he's saying the truth is it is already in our system. If we have been walking around and this is what the environment is right now,
it's in there.
It's already in here. And his point is the only thing that it's doing is just sitting there being fought off by your immune system at all times to where you're not actively currently experiencing flu or cold or COVID symptoms or whatever.
Right.
But the second the immune system basically shuts down or basically weakens itself,
right,
which is, guess what? Stress, fear, whatever else, and anxiety, then your immune system basically allows the pathogen or flu or cold to actually continue to grow because it's not actively fighting
not kept
it
in
off.
check.
It's not actively fighting the bacteria, let's say. Which is like,
and that's why that makes total sense.
No,
now
it
that I
makes
think
all
about
of
it.
everything he says, and I'm like, oh
It's
my
like,
gosh, this is
and why does if you go out in the winter without proper bundlings and you chill it, well, you have caused an actual stress on your system by doing that, right? A physical, it's not an emotional stress, but it is a physical stress. There's really no difference to your body whether it's a physical stress or an emotional stress, and so you're causing stress that causes the blood to constrict.
By stress, when you're cold, you contract, right? You just contract, right? And contraction causes the immune system to slow down. And then you're more likely to get sick after you get cold, not because, he said, a lot of people think we like catch a cold. You catch it like, oh, I get it. And then I put it in my body and then therefore I'm sick.
Yeah.
His point is, no, it's always there. You just, at any point, if you choose to suppress your immune system, then you are at potentiality of getting sick with whatever it is your body already has. Right. But it's all a choice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That we don't, it's hard for us to, we like he said all this stuff when we're saying all this stuff, and you almost go like, wait, but like, what is my responsibility, or what is that I can do? But the whole thing is extremely empowering because all of those actions into fear, into anger, into hatred, into anxiety, into stress are choices, right?
Yeah.
There's choices into, and you can feel it. Like that's the amazing thing that I feel like you can feel your expansion. You can feel the contraction.
You totally can.
Right.
So you totally can.
When you're walking every day in life, the only thing you need to do is go, what if I start to become aware of how my body feels? Does it feel expansive or does it feel contracted? Right? And this is again like quite literally on the physical level, like scientific level. So if I'm not feeling expansive right now and I feel this contraction, what am I afraid of? Like, the truth is, right? What am I afraid of right now? And we have said this in other podcasts, but that's the truth. Is
Yeah.
if something's happening right now that I don't like, what am I afraid of? In this case, is nothing even has to be happening. Just do a check, right? Maybe we should attempt that, like 5 times a day. Just do a check. Okay, do I feel expanded? And if not, what is it that I'm projecting
Yeah.
into today, into this moment?
Right. And
With fear or anxiety?
right. Because you can't let that. I mean, and then let that go, but you can't let it go if you don't know what it is. If you haven't identified it.
Yeah, but again, with fear, we almost never know what it is. I mean, unless it's something big and obvious, like, oh, I got diagnosed with cancer, and that's on your mind. Obviously, that's something that is very obvious, right?
Mm,
But if it's just something stupid, like, oh, I'm afraid, of an exam that's coming up in 2 weeks,
right.
right? Or I'm anxious about a flight we're getting ready to have, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's just silly
Oh
sayings
yeah.
that you don't think about it, but you fear.
Right. The funny thing is that most of those are completely, I'm nervous about a flight. What's the takeaway action in that? There's literally nothing you can
But
do.
most of the fears are like that.
Maybe with, I'm nervous about an exam. Okay, well, then I can study. There's at least something you can do there. But most of
But
most of them,
studying while you're nervous and afraid, it is
right?
almost like irrelevant.
No,
Like those two
I,
separate
yeah.
things.
I get the point I'm trying to make is that I would say 80 to 90% of the things that we're nervous about and afraid about, we have no control over anyway.
Yeah.
And so logically, there's no point in even fretting about it. But, oh my gosh, the plane is going. What if it crashes? What if it's late? What if it might be? But what if a meteor hits my house? I There's nothing I can do. I can't predict that, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
Period. So
Yeah.
why bother worrying about it?
Yeah, but we are most of the time are not aware of all the
You're
fears.
right. You're right. But if you do become aware, I know that on one hand, maybe that's logicking it out, but that really works to me. If I'm notice that I'm nervous about something, I'm like, this is just a dumb thing to be nervous about. It makes no sense at all, and it makes it so easy for me just to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like it's just silly. It's like, oh, it's this almost like instinctual anxiety or nervousness about something that, like, yes, I guess it could go wrong. That is true. The plane flight could go wrong. The house could burn down. These are within the realm of possibility. But
Yeah, but
they're
like percentage of chances
yeah,
of
yeah,
any of those things.
yeah,
Right.
and as long as it's like the difference between being scared or being careful. It's like, well, don't leave candles burning unattended in your house. Don't let cats chew on wire. I don't know. What do you do to not burn a house down? Yeah, you could get hit by a car, but you don't have to walk around being afraid of cars and streets. You just got to be careful and look both ways before you cross. You don't have to be scared. You should just be careful, I guess.
Yeah.
But airplane. Oh yeah. Well, there's nothing. You don't have any control over the plane. Period. A meteor hitting your house, even less. That's
Yeah.
just
But instead of like logicking out, just I think one, identify it.
yeah. You can't logic it out if it's not identified.
Yeah. And then afterwards, yeah, if it's superficial like that, it is easy to dismiss, right? But if it's
Mm,
something that we have been working on and projecting for years and years and years,
yeah. No, there's some that are really hard to let go of.
yeah, those are,
I had a car accident back in January, and it was very, I guess, minor, right? Um, but the next a day or two later, we drove. We were driving up to
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm having like PTSD level flashbacks to my car accident the day or two before, and it was really weird. It was really scary, and I had to actually spend time, feeling that and letting that go. It's like, the car we were driving up to Cincinnati. was a different car that had good tires, and it was dry, and the conditions are completely different. And never before has my car just slid in the rain like that, as it ever.
Mhm.
So it's, logically, I know that this is not. There's no reason for that this to ever happen again, but still, that wasn't something I could logic away. Even though I knew in my mind, I knew that this doesn't make sense. This is not an applicable thing to be afraid of right now. But that didn't matter. I was still really freaked out about it, and I had to, feel it and let it go to get rid of that. So I know lodging does not always work. If it's superficial, it makes it easy. But sometimes those superficial things just sort of sneak up on you, and you just end up being, oh my gosh, I've been anxious for a week. Why? Oh, plane flight, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with me, the one that always comes up is safety, right? And so, which is a very vague term, right? Like, safety has all kinds of stuff in it. It's not that I'm afraid of being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, right? And being mauled at. I It's more of like everything that comes along in a modern world for safety, like food and how people treat you and, whether or not you're respected and whether or not you're valued. Like, there's all this other crap that comes into the underlying cause that's safety. So it's almost like if something comes into my life that especially in the past I have attributed to this keeps me safe and like the status quo changes and goes into the unknown, which is really what life is, the unknown, right? Then that triggers the whole safety thing, right? But so it's almost hard for me to, and then I mean I said this a lot, but this extends into it, right? It, I mitigate the feeling of fear of unsafety through control, right? And so it's almost difficult for me to recognize it because, me doing things could be as innocent. Oh no, this is just something I need to do. Or no, I'm doing this to mitigate the fact that I feel fear, but don't realize it.
Right,
So it's buried like 3 or 4 levels deep.
right.
And so I'm doing things out of fear, but for all intents and purposes, my brain, like if you ask me, like, oh, why are you doing that thing? Most likely I would have no clue and say, oh, well,
Yeah,
because this needs to be cleaned. Or like, oh, no, we need to make sure that, I don't know, whatever that is. Right.
yeah. No, it's sneaky, and it's you know, cleaning is a great example because it's like, yeah, you got to clean every now and then, right? And well, I guess you could dive in. Do you have to clean every now and then? But um, so it, or well, yeah, of course I should exercise, right? Why? How is that a bad thing? And it's like the same, and we've said this a lot, but the same activity when done for
Out of fear
out of fear,
or out of love.
yeah, same activity done out of fear or done out of love, it will it may on the surface look the same to some bystander, but the energy that goes along with it will be vastly different. And I
Hmm.
think even the results will be different, right?
Yeah. But right. But on the personal end, we're at all times have a choice to notice if we're cleaning out of fear or if we're cleaning out of love.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
right.
Like,
Like if you pause and I say think about it, but it's really feel about it, you can tell, right?
or the body feels expanded or contracted.
Right. It's like, am I running so that I can get in shape, so that I look better, so that someone will like me?
Yeah, it's fear.
That's fear. Or am I running because I enjoy running, or I like, you know, I like it feeling uh energized from running or something, right?
Energized for running for what reason? Well,
Like
that's another pit hole.
well, I don't know, like how it gets the blood flowing, and I don't know, feels
Mm,
like a walk in nature almost.
right.
But
What
yeah, no,
the,
you're right. It can get really really sneaky,
yeah, my point to you about running as always is most of the time when people run is, I mean,
you're
there's
running
the
away from
obvious one.
something.
You're running away from something. But there's the other one is, if I don't feel energized right now, let me artificially insert energy in. And running does sound great.
Yeah,
But then there's the dot dot dot, or I could sit back. I mean, I can still run after I identify this. What is causing me not to have that energy right now? And most likely than not, there's this other thing that is actually draining you, and you're using running and as an artificial compensation for the fact that you're being drained by something else.
mhm,
And so yeah, so in that case, running is, this is like even another level deep. You're hiding something else from
right.
yourself.
No, it's sneaky.
Yeah. And so ending at, oh no, it makes me feel good, is a wrong place to end. That's just more blindness and denial. I know you have a thing with me attacking you about your running because you think it's an attack. But yeah, anytime you are running because you would need energy, you need a boost. I mean, yeah, I mean, like, think about it. That doesn't even like sound wrong. But the
Right.
truth is, if that's the reason, there's something behind it. Because your body at all times in a state of love should have enormous amount of energy. And I'm not saying exercise is not great for your body, but what I'm saying is, at the status quo, your body is filled with unlimited potential of energy. And if it's not feeling the unlimited potential, is being limited somehow. And so then
Right.
the truth is, how are you limiting it? And so yeah, running could, you know, stop that drain and chatter, and get
Yeah.
you distracted in some other
In
direction,
the same
just
way,
like
and
alcoholism and
yeah, the
drugs.
same way the alcohol could. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, running because you have low energy is not, I would not recommend. So maybe you should really think of why you're running. Once again. Yeah. I would say the only way you would run.
I guess if I feel, I get it makes me feel open and flowing.
Yeah, but what about any one moment that is causing you not to feel open and flowing? So
I
if you
mean,
identify,
in the same way that yoga, I feel open and flowing. Right. It's not that I don't without it. I guess.
well, by
I don't know.
default you're not, right?
What do you mean default? I'm not.
If you want to feel open and flowing, then it means before the run you don't.
Yeah. It's not that.
What is it then? No, I can, right. I do see a benefit. Like, to me, dancing does that, right? If
Uh,
I feel stuck energy in my body, right?
Using it as a coping mechanism to release it.
Um, Using as a tool to release stuck energy.
Yeah.
But again, I would look at it as the band-aid into happiness, as opposed to, like, what is the actual point of my stuck energy? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At all times, when you're not at 100% of your capacity, like unlimited capacity. Now, I say that I'm not there either,
Yeah.
but there always needs to be an awareness. And like, yes, at this moment, I might not know what is it that is causing this. I'm not 100% capacity, or I'm still working on this, or whatever it is. But if you are constricted in any way, there's something, right? I mean, by Bruce Limpton's point, right? If this is constricted and you don't feel the flow, there's something. Right. But that's the thing, is we're always trying to hide things from ourselves because
Yeah.
we don't want to admit to things. We don't
Yeah.
want to acknowledge them.
We're the ones
It
that
is
are.
easier to live in fear and anxiety and stress, because we could become super accustomed to it.
Yeah.
I say we, including me.
Yeah.
Like, that's just it.
It's this blindness to our own shticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because to sit there and try to identify them, and then, like, after you identify them, having to face them and then actually do something about to get rid of them, makes us
Right.
feel hopeless.
I'm afraid, and I'm afraid about becoming unafraid.
Yeah. But you're almost afraid.
Or I'm at least afraid of the process of becoming unafraid.
Yeah. Well, you're almost afraid that you will not be able to get rid of them.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
I mean, I
Sure.
think that's
I'm
most of
afraid
it.
I'm afraid I won't be able to figure out why I'm afraid. I'm afraid even if I do figure it out, I can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so there's this, like,
Like there's this
it
mechanism.
almost gets, you're going along at the baseline, and then you like, okay, well, maybe there's a way out, but it almost gets worse before it gets better in that sense.
Well, because the second you identify what is it that you're afraid of, the truth is, if you're 40 years old like me and you haven't been addressing it, is there's a whole bunch of other things you're afraid of about identifying what that is, because somehow you're trying to hold on to it so hard
Yep.
that you're afraid of more things about it than just it itself.
Yeah. And you're afraid you're gonna have to deal with it, and you're afraid just
You don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And you're afraid you will not be able to deal with it. And you're afraid it will be too much. And you're afraid it will be too much pain.
and
And you're afraid,
you're afraid there's gonna be more, and
yeah.
you're afraid it'll never end.
And the second you open one, then chances are there's going to be another one. And then you won't know how to do that one either. Do you see what I mean? So
Yeah.
you have already pre-sold yourself on all the reasons why you should not address your fears through fear.
Right.
Like
It's super sneaky.
the sales pitch is already there. The justification to stay in fear is so intense and is so, I mean, I will admit, overwhelmingly big, right? That you're afraid of that overwhelm within itself.
Yeah.
Like we are afraid of feeling that overwhelm.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true for me.
But there's just another fear. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it loops itself and loops itself and loops itself. And it's like a maze. It's
Right.
the Minotaur maze that you will never get out of.
Yeah.
You
No,
will
I mean,
feel like you will never get out.
It is I mean, that is what it is.
Yeah.
Because, like, in the maze, there is no getting out of the maze. You have to,
Yeah.
the only way out of the maze is to stop playing that game. Stop playing the game of
Fear.
fear.
Yeah. Because instead of moving vertically, you just fly the fuck out.
Yeah.
Right. But we have, through that personal sales pitch for so long, in our case, 40 years, right? We have sold ourselves on this maze. This is where safety is.
Yeah.
As afraid and as fucked up and as terrible as this maze is, it is a known maze, and everything else is fear because I don't know it.
That's the thing. It's the fear of the unknown. And,
Yep.
I mean, maybe I'm not happy here, but at least I'm familiar with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we're so afraid of the unknown that we lock ourselves into all the justifications of why we're not going to acknowledge any of our fears. And hence, no love. Right? Like, this is going to sound harsh, but, the reason why all of our relationships are what they are is because somehow they're functioning in this maze of fear.
Yeah.
And then thus we are the ones who are responsible for not feeling love.
Right. And
we are the ones responsible for having shitty relationships. Right.
If there's fear, there's by definition no room for love.
Yeah. Our relationships are being generated and started with and addressed from the maze of fear. And so all the relationships that we start and continue to have that are out of this fear, by default, right, cannot be anything other than fear. Right? We will always manifest what it is that we're afraid of.
That's true too.
No, but that's it. That's what fear is, right? You're vibrating an energy, and then how does that work in the body? It's a message. Like, oh look, here's what is at the top of my mind. Here's what I'm trying to draw to myself.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm not going to find a partner. My gosh, and then you're just walking.
But that's the message to the.
Yeah.
That's the message to the universe.
Yeah, you're
the
just
universe
walking around
is
with
like,
a big sign. I'm afraid I'm not going to find a partner. No partner.
No partner.
No partner. No partner.
Right.
And sure enough.
Yeah. So we're too afraid to face our fears. We're too afraid to identify them and to see them for what they are. But at the same time, we don't realize that the fear is actually creating and manifesting our reality and giving us exactly what we're asking for, because that is the vibrational truth of us. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like if you actually see that and you feel that inside yourself, it makes no sense to run away from identifying fears.
Right. Logically, it's the only way out.
Logically or like energetically,
Like both. Yeah.
right? Like, right. I mean, think about how much energy we put into the pretense system of making sure we go blind to our fears.
That's literally the game that we're here to play. Is to
Yeah.
come here and go, you know, forget it all. Forget the whole, you know, the whole point of existence and pretend and play the fear game. And and sometimes that's fun, but there's no way out of that if you're playing the game. You can't
If
play
you're
you
in the
can't play
game.
you can't win that game. The only way to win is to just not play it.
Yeah.
And do you have to not play it, about airplanes, then not play it about meteors, and then not play it about yeah, maybe. Maybe to begin with, you do have to go, okay, well, I can get over this one thing, I can get over this one thing. And then maybe eventually you can get to the point where, you can just stop playing the whole game.
Well, no,
Baby steps,
to
maybe.
begin with, you have to identify that you're playing a fear game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the only game we're playing. Right. That is it. Like, as humanity, our challenge is how long will we choose to play a fear game instead of choosing to play a game of love?
When will we realize that we're in a fear soap opera?
Mm-hmm.
We don't even realize it.
Yeah. Yeah. The this is kind of an extension of it, but like the dream that I had yesterday came with a message, and I told you this, but I'll repeat. And basically, the dream itself feels very visceral to me. Like I feel the fear, and I'm running, and I'm hiding, and I'm trying to bury myself in sarcophaguses, thick blocks. And the message that I get, kind of like as a like here's the summary of this situation is we have come here to play a game, like a very mild tennis match of back and forth. Like, oh, here's the scenario that you will play, and here's the scenario that I will play, and it'll just kind of bounce the ball back and forth, and it'll be all fun and games. But at some point, and the message was in particular to me, but I think this applies to everybody, is you have really, really believed that this thing that you're playing is very serious and is very intense. And it is no longer a tennis match. This is like a boulder throw, right?
Yeah.
So you think I'm throwing boulders at you, right?
Yeah.
And you're not just
You've taken something that's supposed to be light and fun and made it into something incredibly serious
oh,
and dangerous.
existential to survival almost,
Yeah.
right? And so what I'm running away from is my fear, right? Or actually, I'm in fear, therefore I'm running away because I'm allowing the belief that the game that I'm playing is so serious and is so real and so visceral that I don't actually see it for a choice in the game that I decided to play. Right?
Yeah.
Like I don't
You
see
see, how
it.
could it be any other way?
Right? Because at this point, it feels so real and it feels so intense and it feels so overwhelming that how can I even see this as a game? I can't even rise above it. Right? Because the density of it, the fear is just locked in, right? And I'm bolting and I'm running from love. Right? Like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, if you realize that whenever you're in fear, you're quite literally actively running away from love, it would be a preposterous statement to where you're like, well, obviously I'm not running away from love. That's the only thing that I want.
Right. That's the only thing anybody wants.
Right? How can you say, like, I mean, this is, people are not going to
Right.
like this, but everybody who is not in a loving relationship right now, or does not have loving friends, or
Does not love themselves.
does not love themselves, or does not have love in their life, is completely and solely responsible for their situation because they believe that They believe that they don't have love right now, not realizing that they're choosing not to have love right now because they're afraid.
Right.
That's it. I say that about everybody else, including me. That applies to me as well.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
We are choosing fear instead of love. And while we blame the rest of the world for not giving it to us, we are not seeing that we're the ones who are not going for it.
Not allowing it to even be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're pushing it away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's completely true.
Yeah. No, but it sucks ass to admit to yourself. Like, right.
Right.
Whenever I was having the dream, it was so visceral. And then when somebody was, when he was saying it to me, like, I was thinking, oh, that sucks ass to realize that this is my truth. Like, to admit that, like, oh, I'm actively running away from love by choosing fear.
I mean, it sucks ass, but it's also super empowering too.
No, it's empowering, but
you could look at it either way.
But without awareness, right? Without awareness, for me to admit to myself that I have been running away from love and choosing fear instead for 40 years,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, really?
Yeah, but that's the fear-based response of, oh my gosh, I've missed out on all this, and oh, how am I going to fix that, and blah blah blah.
No.
Versus the love-based response of, oh my gosh, I've been given an opportunity to move in the right direction. It's it's the same thing. It's just reframed in a fear mindset or a love mindset.
Yeah. No, the reason why it sucks ass is because it's sad to me that it's that simple, and I have been making that simple of a choice into a direction that I myself consciously, if you ask me consciously, do you want more love in your life? I would have said, oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Right?
Who doesn't?
But it's so simple. Yet, if you have been blind to it for 40 years, you're like, wow, that's big. I have been actively walking myself into this direction, which is direction of fear, instead of going into direction of love. As a choice.
Right.
But I think you have to admit that for yourself. Like, viscerally feel that as, yes, this has been my choice for the last 40 years. Subconsciously, I'm not saying this was conscious, right? This is all subconscious. But you have to admit that for yourself in order to be able to make a different choice forward.
Yeah.
Instead of me and you saying this and you going, oh, what are those two fucking idiots talking about? Or going, oh yeah, that's their truth, but that's not my truth. If you're in that space right now, that's fine. But change will not happen until you start admitting to your own truth. I'm not saying this is everybody's truth. No, I actually do believe this is everybody's truth. And if you don't believe this, you're just in denial. Yeah, so there's that. But because we specialize in hiding everything from ourselves.
Yeah.
We hide everything we're afraid of. Because we don't want to explore. We don't want to acknowledge. We do not want to work. We do not want to admit that we are responsible for our choices. We're responsible for our own happiness. We're responsible for our life. It needs to be outsourced so then we can hold on to the known, the comfort, the familiar, which is fear. That's it.
Right.
We're trying to keep ourselves safe by holding on to the known, realizing that the thing that we're holding on to is actually fear, because the only thing we know is fear.
Right. I wonder if, like, if children were somehow brought up in a way that makes where that is established, if that would make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, that would just be open heart.
Right.
But when we're bringing up our children, we're not in an open heart.
Watch out for the road. Don't talk to strangers.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. How many things are, don't do this or watch out for that out of fear?
Yeah.
And yes, don't play in the road and don't talk to strangers. Maybe true. It's not saying that it's true or false.
But when we say that, here's the ugly truth. When we say that, we're not talking about the road and we're not talking about the strangers. The energy that we're bringing into it is all the fear that we, as a mother or as a father, feel about something happening to our child.
Yeah.
The truth is, that's the package that we're facing forward.
Yeah.
And so our children, being super intuitive, what they feel is the existential angst of us being afraid that something will happen to our child. And that is what we are giving to them.
Yeah, we're giving
Not
them.
like
We're
this
giving
one
them.
scenario
Hey,
of like,
look,
oh, be
the world
careful.
is full of fear. Here you go. World is
Because
full of danger. You got to be afraid of it.
We're just giving them
Right.
our package of fear.
Yeah. Instead of
like,
you don't have to be afraid. You just have to be careful. For some things.
That's not what, right.
That's not what we do.
No, that's not the energy that we're giving to them.
Yeah.
We're giving them our fears. We're propagating the trauma of fear forward onto them.
Yeah.
Even in a simple statement of like, be careful when you cross the road.
Yeah. How many simple messages or life lessons are, watch out for this worst case scenario.
But think about the energy behind it.
Yeah. And how few of them are, think about this best case scenario. When do we ever do that? When do we ever go, what if things go incredibly right?
Yeah. But
it's like, it like doesn't even make sense. Nobody does that.
Yeah. But whenever we tell them, look at this worst case scenario, think about the energy that you're feeling within you and what that energy is. And then realize that this is a gift you're giving to your child. And then you would go, wait, I don't want this. This is not a gift. This is a like fucked up.
It's a curse.
And yet I am giving this to my child. And that's hard. Like that's super hard to admit.
Yeah.
But to me, all of these points are like eye-opening statements of why change needs to take place.
Yeah.
Right? Why we can choose to act differently so things will change. Right? Like if you're not motivated to change because you don't want your child to be as fucked up as you are, then I don't know what would be the motivating factor.
Right. I mean, I think everybody.
But again,
I think it's universal that it's like, well, I don't want them to have my neuroses.
Yeah, but that's fear, right? Like that is fear. But in this case, it's fear.
But at the same time, we end up kind of feeding them, kicking them down another generation every single time.
Yeah.
Or maybe they have different fears, maybe.
Yeah. No, I mean, our kids, always harp on me for making them dress warm, right? Like that's their thing. Right. But they do recognize that my fear about being dressed is not being cold, right? And then therefore not being sick and therefore being safe and therefore feeling secure and safe, right? Like my whole coldness thing is related to my safety. And so I'm aware of it. I'm still working on it. But at the same time, I do recognize that outside of my personal fear for safety, that is just a thing to do, is to make sure.
Yeah. It's like, it may or may not be true. It being true or false, and you having a fear-based or love-based response are orthogonal topics.
Yeah.
You can have a fear-based response, but it's still true. And you could even have a love-based response and it could be false. I think they're not necessarily go hand in hand.
Yeah. So in my case, I realized that whenever I see them potentially getting cold, with me, the trigger is I go into fear of safety.
You're going to get sick.
Yeah. I go into the fear, right? And they see that too. Like we have had many, many discussions that anytime I'm talking to them about them being cold, I'm afraid. Right? But right. But at the same time,
how many times has like Aiden walked home when it was too cold and then his ears hurt?
Yeah, no, but at the same time, I realized that is still the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's
the right thing to do is for them to put on clothes.
Yes, that's the right thing.
What I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. The right thing to do is for them still to not chill it.
Chill it.
Yeah, we call it chill it. And to stay warm so your immune system does not get spiked or get suppressed so you don't have to get sick. Now, if your immune system is fine and you go outside and you're cold, that's fine. But there's this personalized factor of how much coldness do you need to experience based on your overall immune system levels before any cold session will actually affect you.
Right. And there's even like I mean, I guess it's an extension of that. Some amount of something. If you were to say that the cold is bad for you, some amount of that is actually good for you.
Of the cold.
Right, right. What'd you call it? Prophylactica?
Prophylactic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna you're in the sauna, and then you go jump in the ice water, and you go back to this. Some amount of those what we would call stresses on your system is good for you, but too much of it is definitely bad for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe there's a health benefit to cold plunges and saunas, but you don't want to spend 2 hours in the freezing water, and you probably don't want to spend 2 hours in the sauna.
Yeah. No, it is beneficial to train your system to have a stronger immune system to be able
Yeah,
to respond. So, if you do, like cold soaks, the polar bear plunges type of a thing once in a while, then your immune system builds up its,
yeah,
its strength. Then when you go out into, a mild windy day and it's cold, but your immune
yeah,
system has strength, then you wouldn't respond to it the same way,
yeah.
right? But remember that time we were in San Augustine over the winter and we went on the trolley ride?
And we were not dressed warm enough for that.
Yeah, and they were just it was on the beach, and so like
It was
the
windy.
wind was blowing, and all of us got sick after that.
Yeah,
We went to San Augustine. We were all cold. Honestly, we should have abandoned that trolley ride way earlier than we did. And then like the next day, or maybe 2 days after, I don't remember when we were driving home, I was sick because my
yeah,
immune system was suppressed enough based on that hour and a half on the cold
yeah. We're
trolley.
like, do we sit in the cold with the trolley wind, or do we just walk against the wind in the cold?
It might have been better
It
because we
might have
were
been better
sitting in
because
the
at least we
cold.
would have gone straight, and it would have been a shorter amount of
But,
time.
you're walking,
You're
so your
walking,
body is warming up.
yeah,
Like, and if we jogged here and there, we would have warmed our body up. We were just sitting.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I was sick when we were driving home. Like, that's when we got Haley. I was feeling terrible. But I realized it was just my immune
No, yeah.
system was
Yeah, because we were all
suppressed.
sick, and we're like, "Oh, wait a minute. 2 days ago, we were in the not quite freezing, but,
Yeah.
probably low 50s, high 40s."
Yeah, but it was just too much wind.
Yeah.
It was just too much wind.
I'm so
Yeah, and I had, and on top of that, I had a terrible night's sleep because that's when she was still like nuzzling when we first got her.
Yeah.
She she I guess still had like separation anxiety, or she thought that I was her mommy, and her safety response is to nuzzle and suckle. And so I don't think the
She's
camera
not.
can see her.
I
Yeah.
know.
And so all night she laid there like, you know, what it
Pawing at you,
pawing, like what is that called?
softening.
Like whenever they breastfeed, they do that to mommy's breast in order
It probably
to,
gets the milk out
yeah, to get the milk out. So and then she was suckling. So
on
she
your
was
neck.
still like breastfeeding on my neck. And I'm like, "Oh my
Not
gosh."
very effectively.
Mm? Not in fact, but it soothed her. It was a soothing. It's
Yeah.
just like why the kids like suckling on the pacifiers is because that's an extension of a breast
Mhm.
to them, right? And so that action, it's just like, oh look, you're no
It's
longer
calming.
breastfeeding, but this is close enough, and so your brain gets tricked into calming through, the suckling of, I guess, what would be a nipple or a bottle, right?
Mhm.
I mean, because that's usually what that, like
Yeah.
we trick our children with pacifiers in order to make it seem like they're close to their moms and being held close
Yeah.
because they're sucking on something, because that association is still there. And so, yeah, so she still had that association with breastfeeding. And so she was, and yeah, and I felt so bad for her because to me, safety, right? My trigger is safety. We find her on the side of the road. She's
Yeah.
unsafe.
Yeah.
And so my fear, I'm in like that, like, oh my gosh, I will do anything in order for her not to feel the way that I think she feels, right? I'm projecting my fear onto her. Like, oh, she's on the side of the road and there's big semi trucks and she almost got run over. Look how scared she must be. And so here's 2 o'clock in the morning and she's suckling on my neck. I will let her do it because
Right.
because I don't
And,
want her to
for all
feel.
for all we know, we took her away from mama. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah,
And so,
right. Then, but that's a fear thing too, right?
right?
Like I have taken something away from something that is safety for them,
Right?
right? That's your thing.
right? Yeah, because
Because
it's
you
like
grew up without love and safety.
right. It's I
Well,
mean
no,
that
you had safety. You just
I had safety, but
yeah.
yeah, no, yeah. So you're like, oh, we have to rescue her from this unsafe situation, and I'm like, yes, we do, but at the same time, I'm like, are there more? Did we do the right thing? Did we take her away from Mama? Should we go back and get Mama? Should we go look? You know,
Yeah, because to you, mama love is the most important thing,
right,
right? Because you grew up with the choice and determination that you do not have mom love.
right. Didn't have love. Period.
Yeah. But the most importantly, right? Like as a child, our biggest component of love is associated with a mother. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I grew up with the choice into the belief that I'm not safe. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So through this
We
cat
both had this thing, and we both projected our own
fears onto it.
fears.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. And so
and
I'm
we saw
laying
the same situation in two similar but slightly different ways
yeah. Yeah.
through those lenses, fear lenses.
Yeah. But I want to do point out we love her a
Oh yeah,
lot,
yeah,
but let's be honest, through the fear, through the filter of love, or through the filter, we love her through the filter of fear,
yeah, yeah.
right? We're just like our
I mean, I
children.
like to think we're past a lot of that now. When we first got her, it was
What if I mean when we first got her, we were still on the journey of the awareness, but I could tell actively everything was triggering inside of me that was still the fear that I have
yeah. No,
and still have
there were
today.
a lot. Yeah, I mean, I still think. Wait a minute, is this the cat that I saw on the road, or is this sister of the cat that I saw on the road? Is that one still back there?
Yeah, but to you, right, you would recognize like, oh yeah, to me, being
Right.
taken away from a love of a mother, which is basically your pain
Oh,
body.
this is more like did we miss one?
It's like, oh my gosh, there's another
Because
thing we did not save.
we pull over. I run back and get this one, and it runs back into the median, and then it's like okay, I can stop running for a second and catch my
Yeah,
breath. But then I thought she ran much further, but then she was closer, and
yeah.
I'm like, well, am I just confused, or
Well, and yeah, and
did I pick up the wrong cat?
yeah, and then you thought that the hump on the side of the road was bigger than her.
Maybe, yeah. It was
Yeah, which
gray, but I don't remember the white, but I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, the size she is right now, being a kitten, that would be a pretty big hump on the road, and I don't think the hump was that big. Do you know what I mean? Just look at that ball. That would have been a big ball. Like that's a basketball. Even if she's in a circle curled up, just giving up on life, that would be like almost like a basketball sized ball.
Now?
Yeah, now, but she's not fully grown. So if it was Mama, she would have been fully grown.
No, I
Or
don't think it was Mama. I thought it was. I didn't think it was Mama. I thought
oh,
it was a
okay,
second kitten.
second kid, yeah. But that's a fear too, right? Like, oh my gosh, here I am rescuing
Yeah,
this one and giving all the love I can. But what if there's another one we
yeah.
didn't
What if
rescue?
there's more?
Yeah,
Then it's my fault that number two's gonna get run over,
fear, right?
right?
Fear projected onto
Number
the
two
cat.
very well most likely doesn't exist right there.
Yeah,
But what if?
yeah. But even if it exists, what if it's just happy somewhere in a
Right.
farm
I mean,
in Georgia?
there's zero chance that we could even the next day go back and find that same spot and find a cat there.
Or we could have stayed
Logically,
there and been looking for a second cat.
I
Yes.
guess, but
If we thought there were two cats. Yeah, I don't know. No, like I think did we talk about how she came into our life just so perfectly and serendipitous?
yeah, I
We talked about it?
think so. I
Oh.
think that first episode after we got her, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, she's a magical cat. She's definitely cat of chaos. No, but it's interesting all the things that she brings up. Or like and this is the beautiful thing, and I think if anything else, this will give more hope. Um, everything that gets brought up in our life, right? Everybody in our life, everything in our life is designed there to give us an opportunity to see into the rhetoric that we have designed to ourselves that is our fear, right?
Hmm.
And so, like, that is beautiful to me, right? The fact that we're here to uncover the maze of fear that we have designed for ourselves. And is again not trying to mitigate the fear of not being able to figure it out. But by default, we're here to unravel. and see the fear for what it is, so
Yeah.
then we can choose love. Like, that right there is beautiful, right? That there is no such thing as us not being able to see through it, acknowledge it, and then choose differently. Because it's all a choice. Like, right? Just like me choosing to pick this up and take this down.
Yeah, it is a
It's that
choice.
simple.
Once you realize it's a choice, inc it can be incredibly empowering, right?
Yeah.
If you take it that way.
Yeah.
Choose love.
But acknowledge if when it's not.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to live in 100% love all the time. That's just a
Yeah.
part of our human journey.
See the fear for what it is. Like, I would say have a determination to decide to see fear for what it is,
Yeah, and when you
not cloaked as something
yeah,
else. Don't cloak fear in anything other than its truth.
right, and that's it's fine that it's there. It will be there. It's gonna come, and there'll be, good days and bad days with that. But yes, make the choice to see it, and then once you see it, you can make the choice to rise above that.
Mhm. Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.